we met this beautiful soul, Shannon Morehead. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. As you had this gorgeous dress on, and we're walking from the parking lot in Vegas and going to PsyCon, the psychedelic conference, and setting up our booth and things like that. And we started to talk, and it was just a beautiful connection. But yeah, Shannon, tell us about you. Whatever comes up, tell us.
That's a really big question. Who are any of us, right? Like that's the lifelong quest is who am I? So I guess in very 3D terms, I'm a medicine woman. I'm a birth doula. I use ayahuasca, both in the medicine circle and in the birth ceremony. An author. I'm a former registered nurse, massage therapist. I don't practice as a nurse or massage therapist anymore, but that is part of my background. I'm an integration coach, and my husband and I facilitate ayahuasca ceremonies.
Beautiful,
It's my
beautiful.
current life iteration.
Yes, yes. We grew up the background, right? Being in this more rigid way of learning and being as a registered nurse, me as a physician, and then coming to a space of what? There's a whole world that's very multidimensional, as you said, the 3D versus, right? What was that transition like for you?
Wow. Well, I think for me, like most people, it was catalyzed by pain and by the system that I thought was there to provide for me and take care of me. The medical system wasn't working. So in my 20s, I had chronic pain. I was a perioperative nurse. I was on more meds than most of my patients who came in for surgery. Flexeril, Xanax, Soma, Vicodin, you name it, antidepressants, anti-anxieties, Boost bars, Zoloft. Like I was on it. And I just looked at myself in the mirror one day. I was like, I'm in chronic pain. I'm only in my 20s. What is going on here? And I went to go see my doctors and they would just prescribe me another pill. And it wasn't working. The more pills I took, the worse I felt. It seemed like it helped, but as you probably know, with like opioids and things, there's just rebound pain. So I just began to really look for something different. And that's how I found my way into massage therapy. And fortunately, the massage therapy school I went to was kind of like it wasn't like a anatomy and physiology kind of massage therapy school. It was more about energetics and consciousness. And I
Wow.
was very grateful for that introduction. I was probably like 29, I think, at the time. And so that
Was
kind
it?
of set me.
Where was this?
This was in Clearwater, Florida.
Wow, that is so.
Yeah. So yeah, it set me on this self-seeking path and then learning to recognize the link between physical and emotional pain. And so the pain medicines I needed to be on kind of went away because I started dealing with the emotional pain. Uh, I quickly realized that nursing wasn't for me, partly because I have like a bit of a rebel archetype in my bones, and taking orders from screaming doctors just didn't feel very honoring of my soul's purpose. So I found massage therapy. I was so grateful I didn't need to chart and take notes and have to, hear CYA every other patient and be concerned about that. I could make my own schedule. And then somehow I landed from there, found my way into insurance as a roundabout detour, which was actually perfect. It was very much my divine path, even though insurance is a totally bad word in my life. But it's been really good for me. And the residual income from being in health insurance sales has helped to fund my life purpose, the retreat center that we run. So that's how I'm able to facilitate ceremonies and give scholarships and not have to worry about collecting a paycheck from ceremonies.
Beautiful. And what do you do for the insurance company?
We sell health insurance. So fourth quarter, when hospitals are renewing, mostly for hospitals, when they're renewing their benefits and the nurses and the employees and the pharmacy techs all come down to get their open enrollment taken care of, I set them up on their insurance programs. So we get paid to do that.
That is awesome. And
Yeah.
oh, amazing. And oftentimes, and you said it's like the universe has put you on this path and one is funding the other, where you are
Yeah.
bringing so much healing. And it's like so cool. There's so many layers to that.
Exactly. Exactly.
That is so
Yeah.
cool. Have you ever had any resistance with the work that you're doing versus what you're doing, well, the work that you're doing, I mean, the retreat center and the insurance model. Has that ever had any resistance, conflict, any friction there, or it's just been fine?
I mean, like internally?
No, well, sure, internally too, but externally, has that ever come up where people like at a health institution, maybe they just don't know what you also do on the side, you know?
No, not really. I work for a broker, so it's the broker's account with these large hospitals here in Florida. And so I'm 1099. They just pay me to come in, do the job during fourth quarter. I do it for 6, 8 weeks a year. It's 12-hour days. It's very long days, but it's, you know, get it done, get in, get out. And as long as I go in and I educate that's my only job is to educate the employees and what is their best interest and to help them find the best program for them because everyone's health insurance needs are different. So
Yes,
that's all I do. They don't care what I do.
amazing.
The broker knows what I do, but the hospital doesn't care. I'm not employed for them. And yeah, no conflict there. But as far as internal conflict, yeah, I declared last fourth quarter. That's the last year I'm doing it. So I'm waiting for the universe to provide some other form of income so that we don't have to go put these monkey suits on and spend 12 hours a day talking to people about insurance. It served its purpose. It got me to where I am, and I'm grateful for it. And now it's time to spend those really beautiful hours and those days continuing to cultivate my own inner house so that I can better serve the people that I serve.
Beautiful, beautiful. Tell us about your retreat.
We are a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. We're in Brooksville, Florida. We're on 20 acres. It's right next to the Withlacoochee State Forest, so we're backed up against State Forest. It's just beautiful setting. All forest, all trees, lots of beautiful animals and deer and raccoons, and just a
Oh,
beautiful, beautiful setting, very quiet. People always remark when they come that it's very quiet. And we facilitate ayahuasca ceremonies, very small groups between 5 and 15 people currently. And yeah, every about once a month, sometimes twice a month, we have our church service. So we serve outdoors in nature in a beautiful setting. It's very structured. Everything's in silence. We do play music. We do diet with the plants and we get the shamadas and the icaros and the songs from the plants that they want us to call them into the space. And we honor the indigenous that taught us these ways. Yeah, so we provide live music and, usually as guided by ayahuasca or whatever divine guidance is in the space. And it's beautiful. We just, I don't know about your timing, but we just served a veteran on last weekend in Memorial Day. And he told us he didn't even think about it being Memorial Day, but it was such an honor to serve him. And he had uh, trauma he was the triple Purple Heart. So he had trauma. One of his biggest traumas was being the first of his squad to enter a house, to clear the house, and he was shot. He was shot right in the upper right quadrant of his lung. And he had trauma. And now he was a property appraiser and a home inspection. And so his job after that was constantly going into houses. And he was struggling
oh.
and it was so strange. Like, first he was property appraiser and then he was a home inspector. It's like, wow, you just kept picking the same job. But yeah, through the coaching, we provide coaching during the retreats and help guide people because the medicine can be confusing. It's like, am I hearing ayahuasca? Am I hearing my ego? What am I hearing? And so we provided coaching, and through that, he re-entered that home very reluctantly in the ceremony. And I just had my integration call with him just before this call, which is why it's fresh for me. And he said, I did not have any negative experience going into any homes this entire last week. And I just about cried. I was like, oh my gosh, this is why we do this work.
This is it.
Because this is so powerful, and he's spent years in the VA and doing things the way that he thought that that's how it was supposed to be done. And he said he's happy. He's happy. He's like, I'm genuinely smiling. I can't remember the last time I authentically smiled. I'm happy. And I don't have any trauma in my work. And what was so funny, it was kind of interesting during one of the ceremonies, I play a handheld crystal ball over people. And he said during the retreat that he felt like when I came around and played this, that he was inside of a bell. And then he said on the coaching call that every house he went into, just before he would enter the house, he would have this sound of being inside the bell. He's described it like tinnitus, like a ringing in his ears, but he was back in the bell. And what I imagined, if I could put it into energetic visual terms, is how like when you touch water and you create a wave, and then you touch it from another angle and you create another wave and they kind of cancel each other out. I feel like that sound vibration, like just kind of like buffered whatever experience energetically that he's having. So that's just a little bit about our retreats. I could go on, and it's so exciting, and it's such an honor and a privilege to serve and to hold the space and to witness people in their most intimate, deepest moments, and to guide them through those processes to a life that they know is possible. That's why they come to this space, right? Because they know that what they're living is not it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have feelings, you have trauma.
That's it. That's it. Or you don't have feelings and you have trauma, right? It's
right, right.
it's just being human on this journey. You're gonna have trauma. You're gonna have patterns that you're carrying with yourself. And especially in the veteran population, when there's certain professions that just put us out there, that you're going to sustain trauma, including the health profession, which is so funny. The healthcare profession, it's sick care.
For sure. It's tertiary model all the way.
It's sick care. And so, when you go into those spaces, not only does it affect you, it can physically, like you're a veteran, but emotionally energetically picking up all these energies of people that you're serving can be very difficult. And it's very interesting that in the psychedelic world, when you've dealt with your own traumas and you have healing from them, then you can serve other people. So I'm curious about that work for you. I don't know if you did a training, I don't know if you did apprenticeship, or what was that like for you, and also moving through your own pain? You said with the emotional and the physical pain being connected, obviously, but you had to recognize that and experience that personally to move through it then. And we don't have to go into detail of what had caused all of that, but I'm very curious in your own transformation of what was it like when you were able to move through your own stuff and you were able to see that all these gems are in there that you can serve from?
It's in one word, I guess it's liberating and empowering. I found ayahuasca, she found me, and my intention was to heal from asthma. And I've been allergic and asthmatic since I was 20. Just came on overnight, go figure. And that was my goal. And over the years, a decade now, I can see in my body when I find a stuck emotion. They say that asthma is suppressed grief, anger, and pain in the lungs. So if we think about emotion, when you laugh, you make a noise. When you cry, you make a noise. When we have emotion, there's typically a noise that goes with it, whether it's joy or sorrow or you want to scream. How many of us just wish we could scream? And like, I just want to scream so bad, but we don't. And then that scream's suppressed. And so for me, I recognize that it's suppressed in my lungs. And when I would release these emotions in a safe space, obviously, like I mentioned, we have 20 acres, so I have plenty of a safe space to do that. But even if it's in a car or a rage room, like we all have access to safe spaces if we look, I would notice that I didn't need my inhaler. And then I didn't need my inhaler longer and longer. And so over the decade, I've gone from needing my inhaler sometimes up to 5-6 times a day. And now I'm 5-6 times a year.
Wow.
So that is huge, to constantly have this asthmatic mucus. I was a wet asthmatic, just constantly coughing, staying up all night, needing my inhaler through the night, to don't need it. I can get on a plane now and not be like, do I have my inhaler? I can go for a run now and not be worried that I forgot my inhaler. So there's liberation, there's freedom in that. And then through working through my own traumas and uncovering, the more I uncovered, it's like they say in scuba diving, the more you look, the more you see. And so the more I looked, the more I found, and the more I found, the more I was like, oh, look what's under here. And I've had this analogy come to me through my coaching. I don't claim that any of them come from me because it's all just divine download, right? But I call it the warehouse of boxes. And all of us have a warehouse of boxes of things that we've stored away. And we're like, don't need that. Get to it one day, someday. And all of those boxes, it's as if we were moving and we put a label on the side: mom, dad, first boyfriend, first girlfriend, first job. Whatever it is, those emotions are tucked away in that box. And so the work that we get to do is to unpack those boxes and to break the boxes down and throw them away and clear out our warehouse. And when we do, sometimes we have this experience of like, I've emptied the dad box. And then we keep, moving our way through the piles of boxes. And then we find another box that says dad on it. It's like, oh, dang it. Thought I was done with the dad stuff, but it's like the more you look, the more you see, the more boxes you clear out of the warehouse, the more space you make to be able to see what's really there. And then when you're actually clear, this is the space that we hold space from, that we lead other people from. It's like, yeah, I can see that you're in a warehouse of boxes. Let me help you unpack that. I know this tool for unpacking that. That tool isn't going to work so well, but you have free will. Do it how you want to. And so we guide people to unpacking these experiences in a safe container with their adult wisdom, because a lot of times these traumas didn't always happen as we were adults, and we didn't have the language, the skills, the empowerment, the courage to stand up to the people that hurt us. And so being able to revisit that in a safe space is so powerful if we have the courage to do that. So that's just a little bit of my healing journey in a nutshell. But I'm at a space now, and it's not quick work. I did a dieta over this past 5 days with a beautiful plant we call the rose. And I woke up one morning to this tickle on my foot. And I looked down. Our natural inclination is to get it off. It's an ant. It's going to bite me. But I looked down first, and it was this cute little centimeter long inchworm, like the teeny, teeny little inchworm. And it was like Rose was saying, just little bit by little bit, inch by inch, we take a little bit at a time. It's taken me a long time to get where I am, and I'm nowhere near done. But I do feel like I'm at a space where I'm clear, and I've seen the path, and I have the skills and the vision to guide people through it. And it's a beautiful, empowering, liberating space to be in.
Incredible, incredible. I have so many questions. And I love that analogy and that exercise of thinking of it as a warehouse full of boxes that you're unpacking. I'm gonna actually meditate on that.
Mm,
I'm like, what else is left? What is and it's very curious, as you said, there are layers to it, right? There's layers to the work that you do. Maybe it's with the inner work that we do with dad, with mom. It's always in relationships, right? Because we are in relationship constantly with everything, with
yes,
everything.
exactly.
First recognizing that, and then tapping into the relationships with whatever it is. It may just be patterns. It may be patterns that they pass down to you, and they're not necessarily intentional. They're just patterns that they carried with themselves, and they gave them to you. They projected them forward, and that's how you were raised in that culture. But it's so cool when you say, hey, yeah, I thought I had worked through this, and you have through a portion of it, and then there's some other things that are left, and you're sifting through that and figuring out, hey, how do I deal with this now, and what does it mean, what is it showing up as in my life right now, and that the path never ends.
No.
It never ends. Was there a particular moment for you that you felt your warehouse is clear, and yes, this is when I can start doing this work for other people?
Yes and no. For me, it wasn't about me being the determinator of whether I was ready or not. For me, it was always up to the plants.
Sure.
And so, I know I've just realized I never answered your question about training, but I always just relied on the plants to tell me what the next step was and when I was ready, and to be obedient, to honor that, and to bring reverence to that process, and to not be in a hurry. I've mentored with the União do Vegetal, the UDV tradition, which is the Christian version of ayahuasca in Brazil, and learned to make medicine with them. They've given me some of their chamadas, which are the same as what we call the icaros, the calls, where we call in different spirits, and have a wonderful relationship with them. And then I also have learned with the Shipibo, the traditional Peruvian Shipibo tradition, and that is my current maestro Lila Sanchez of New Era, and she is my go-to person. And so, and we honor those traditions, and we keep those traditions alive as much as we can, blend also with our current culture, because some traditions don't translate, nor should they need be. What was your question again?
No, it's good. You know, if there was, thank you for answering that question. I'll ask it again. It's
Mhm.
not a big deal. But it's really interesting that you've taken from both traditions, because the Brazilian tradition is very different than the Peruvian
Mhm.
tradition. And I'm just coming, I'm new in the world of ayahuasca. I've never actually had an experience with ayahuasca, and I've been hearing and absorbing what I can learn from people about it. And a lot of people say, you got to go to the jungle to do this. And there's beauty in that as well. But knowing that there's also integration of different methods into it's an evolution of the traditions. And I'm a big
Yes.
believer in that. What serves us today is different than, and in America, right, than what serves us for thousands of years in the jungle, within that culture, within that tribe, on that land. It's a different thing. And so that's
Yes.
beautiful that you brought all of this together. I'm a that's the work I do as well, is like bringing different goodnesses together and creating
Mhm.
something that is meaningful in this moment for people at this time. Yeah, that is really cool.
Totally agree.
So I hear that the Brazilian tradition is more celebratory. Is that true? And the Shipibo tradition is more inner work and quietness and that silent work. Yeah, just interested in learning.
Yeah, yeah. In the most part, yes. The Unhado Vegetal is different than the Santo Daime, which Santo Daime does seem to be more celebratory. I haven't actually sat in a Santo Daime ceremony, but the Brazilian, we sit up in chairs, and the music that they play is usually recorded. And it is like a mariachi band. It's really like, it's a lot sometimes for me energetically. It's sometimes loud. And if you need to purge, you got to get up and go outside the temple and purge outside on the ground. Nobody's laying down. It's not like Shipibo where you're on your mat with your bucket and you're inward. But I would say that the Brazilian is about consciousness, and it's about expanding our consciousness and looking within at who we are and how we can be a better person. And whatever God, it's definitely a celebration of God and whatever God has to show us in that experience. And sometimes in the UDV tradition, they will, about 2 hours into the ceremony, which is about 4 hours long total, they will open up the floor for questions. And you can ask the maestre for a question. Sometimes it's, what is the meaning of life? Sometimes it's, where does the cashew come from? People ask all different kinds of questions, and he will, I guess he's like channeling this answer through the medicine and providing the answers that people seek. And it's not like a constant conversation, but it's like a question here, question there, littered throughout this music, and then the more kind of journeying inward. Where the Shipibo, at least it feels like in the translation that they have made adjustments for us and our Western culture, is about healing. It's about removing blockages, purging our shadow, connecting to our shadow, learning to embrace it, to love it, and then also becoming a better person, but really having that more of like an energetic state shift. Lying down on our mat, and everybody's in their own internal process. Similar, but definitely different in the experience of that. Yeah. And then what we've, kind of like what you do, we bring a little bit of everything together, because I think that tradition is tradition and it is honored, and we revere that tradition. And there's no copyright on our tradition. There's no copyright on sacred wisdom. It belongs to all of us as a family of humanity, because we are all one. And if you've done psychedelics long enough, you know that we are all one and that we're all sharing in this beautiful experience together. And so when we are practicing with authenticity and originality, we're an amalgam of these different traditions. And
Mm.
so sometimes I'll be in ceremony and I'll have a song come through me that I've never sang before, and I probably couldn't sing again because it just flowed in that moment. It didn't come from a tradition. It was needed in that moment, and that moment will never be experienced again in the same way. So I think that is the best medicine, when we're really just present and open and allowing, yes, our training and our experiences and our wisdom to show up as the foundation, but also to allow the divine to move through those moments in the ways that best serve the people that we're there to serve.
Beautiful, beautiful. How long did this journey take you to the point of now serving people?
I started drinking in 2014. And we started we started with psilocybin first. That was the medicine that first said, okay, you're ready. I said, you're ready. One or two people, friends and family only. It was very short, very sweet. And I was just like, whoa, what? I wasn't even asking the question. And then we served that for about a year. And then, so that was 2018, 2017. So around 2018, 2019, we started to serve ayahuasca. And kind of coming back to your original question, I didn't think that I was ready. I was waiting for ayahuasca to kind of do what psilocybin had done, like, okay, you're ready. And we were actually at a trip in Brazil, in Manaus, with the UDV church, my husband and I. And we had brought a book, Dwayne Dyer's The Tao, his interpretations of the Tao. And my husband would just kind of open it and flip to a page, and we would read that one page. It's kind of one of those books you can just kind of do a paragraph at a time. And it absolutely paralleled everything we would experience that day, or the messages that people would be giving us. And over that general trip, there was probably 7 people in the UDV church, without us asking, came up and said, "You're serving medicine yet?" We were like, "No, why not? You're ready." Over and over and over. And I was like, "No, we're not. No, we're not. We're waiting for the medicine to show us." And then we came home, and the UDV church sent us home with some medicine, which we weren't expecting to be gifted, several liters of ayahuasca. And so we come home, and I had a mushroom ceremony that I was going to facilitate for a dear friend of mine. Again, we were just doing friends and family, 2 people. And I always test the medicine beforehand. And so I tested these mushrooms, and they were duds. There was nothing. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like 3 or 4 days before the ceremony. I didn't have time to get more and make more chocolates. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? So I called my friend. Thankfully, he's a dear friend. He understood. He's like, well, I know you have ayahuasca, right?
Stop it right now.
I was like, okay. So she just kind of like pushed me into the water, here, walk the plank. And that's how we began. And so I just always honored her. And then she would say, okay, you're ready to go to 3 to 5 people. And friends and family began to refer to their friends and family. And that's how we've grown. We've never advertised. And these conferences we've been at, that I met you at, was this 3rd conference we've been at in the last year. That was our first time going out into the public, was Psychedelic Science in Denver last year. So it's grown all organically by word of mouth, and always at a pace that we were able to manage, because, as you know, the more people in the space, the more energy there is to hold, to understand, to learn, to work with. And so it's always been at a pace that we could maintain. And I just trust that as long as I do what the plants tell me to do, whatever my heart and my connection to the divine tells me to do, that we're in right relationship.
Wow, what a journey.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's so fun. It's so hard too. It's not easy. It's hard work. It's sacrifice, and the rewards are great. It's so beautiful.
So
The rewards
beautiful.
are so good.
And tell me about the hard work. I'm interested.
Hard ceremonies. And then, like, it's my husband and I, we're 2 people. We have a volunteer staff. We don't have a paid staff. There's a lot of work, a lot of just CD work. Like, we have an application process, approving people's applications, and integration calls, and the support that we do, and the emails, and then scrubbing the toilets, pressure washing the areas that we're going to have ceremony. We live in a woods, so getting the cobwebs out so people aren't scared in their cabins. And it's a lot of little work like that. It's hard work, but I wouldn't trade it. But the real hard work is the mirror. Is like, I did a dieta with Rose this past 5 days, and the dreams were off the chart. And every dream was her showing me where I was not loving. Like, that's, I wake up and like, oh, that's an interesting dream about my mom. And I'm like, tell me what that is, Rose. And she's like, well, actually, your mom's a projection of you. That's you. Oh, well, that's an interesting dream about so-and-so. No, that's you. Nope, that's you. That's you. And that's you. Look where I'm judging. Look at where I'm not being loving. Sting. But thank you. Thank you so much. But I think the hardest work is really when we have something that we've experienced in life that is so deeply entrenched that those roots really are like the taproot of our ego, our identity of who we think we are, which is not real. It's an illusion. And the body and the ego mind wants to hold on so tight that we're in ceremony and we're just miserable. Physically, I've just been so physically miserable, like really working to dislodge these energies. It takes physical work, a lot of cat cows, a lot of like working, meditating, being and not letting ourselves be distracted in those spaces. It's hard work. I walk away and I'm like, wow, I feel like somebody just took a cinder block off each shoulder that I didn't even know was there. So really, very worth it.
Very worth it. And for the audience, will you tell us what a dieta is?
A dieta is essentially establishing a relationship with a plant. So, and what most people can relate to is if they have done ayahuasca or even coming to ketamine, there's a way that we prepare ourselves for that experience. There's a diet that we follow. There's things we eat, there's things we don't eat. We avoid social media. We avoid putting things into our subconscious space that could clutter or confuse us. That's kind of the gist. But the dietas that I'm referring to are I spend a set period of time, usually 5 days, drinking ayahuasca, fasting, dry fasting with the plant alone in seclusion, nobody else around, not on my phone, no books, with that plant. And I'm sitting with that plant, listening to the plant, taking in its wisdom, understanding what its lessons are for me, and learning because these plants are conscious beings of incredible majesty and magic and beauty and wisdom that we have on a human level no idea. We have no idea what we're just walking by. You walk by an oak tree and you are walking by a giant of wisdom. And so to take time to create relationship, to fast, to pray, to be with, to honor, to revere, to listen. And this is where a lot of the ikaros and the songs that we receive, that we sing in the ceremony come from is, I'll just wake up in the middle of the night with a song in my head and I record it. Then the next ceremony I lead, all of a sudden, wow, there's the ikaros. It comes through because of the dieta that we did. And then that ikaro has its own energetic power. And so we're receiving downloads and transmissions from this plant kingdom. And additionally, a dieta can be more than just plants. Next week, Travis and I are going to a darkness retreat. So we are dieting darkness. We're dieting our inner shadow. You can diet anything. You could diet gold and listen to what the element of gold has to teach us. You could diet the sun. You could diet water. You can learn from all of the elements. You can learn from all of the elements of life, the wind, stars. They all have some wisdom to give us if we just take the time and make the sacrifices to be with them.
Beautiful. I'm learning.
We never stop learning, right?
You never stop learning, and it's so beautiful. There's so much richness and wisdom that we can gain from each other and each other's stories. And each one of us is so different. And though we're one, have different stories and journeys that are unique completely to us. And it's fascinating. It's beautiful. It's fascinating. So thank you for sharing all of that you're
Yeah,
sharing.
great
Yeah.
questions. Thank you.
Of course, of course. So currently you're saying that you are in a dieta. Is that correct for 5 days?
I just finished yesterday.
Just finished yesterday. During this time, let's say you take that 5 days, what are you doing during those 5 days? As you said, there's different ways to go about it. But let's say this most recent one, do you clear out your schedule so that you have those 5 days to
Mhm.
yourself so you can dive deep and be able to connect with self, with that inner voice and the universe just sharing with you and the plant and yeah, just how do you do it?
Great question. Yes, I have nothing on my calendar. I have my phone to contact my husband if I need him, but otherwise it's in airplane mode. And I have a voice activated recorder on my phone so that if I have a dream in the middle of the night, I can just speak it and not have to worry about getting up and writing it. So I can kind of still stay in that sleep, deep sleep state. But I start by bringing all of my things. I have a tent and the basic 3D stuff that we need, water for brushing my teeth, and my ceremony supplies, my smudge, my hape, the things that I need, tobacco, and I draw a circle around the space. And so I'll also bring the plants. So I had a rose plant with me in this last dieta. and I'll bring the plant if it's not already there. Obviously, like an oak tree is already there. And I'll draw a large circle, maybe 20 meters around the space, and I don't leave that space for 5 days. And I'm not on any electronics. I'm not on my phone except to maybe record stuff on the voice activity recorder. I use it as a tool, not as an escape. And each plant, like you said, is different. And so each plant wants different things from us. So this was actually the first dieta where I did bring a book. And it was a book that was given to me by a new friend that was there for at our place for a women's retreat the week before. And we were talking, and she said, I thought that I brought this book for somebody else, but it's for you. I got to go get it. And she goes and gets it out of her car. And it's A Course in Love. It's the second version of A Course in Miracles downloaded, channeled by Jesus. And it's all about love and unity and separation. And that was what my Rose Dieta was about, was love, unity, the truth of unity and our illusion of separation. And so, and then she also gave me a song. There's a song that I've loved and wanted to learn to play on guitar. I don't know how to play guitar, or I didn't know how to play guitar, but I taught myself this song on guitar with her help. And she changed the words. So I learned the melody on the guitar, and then she added her own words. And so I spent the 5 days building calluses on my fingers trying to learn how to play guitar and reading chapters in this book. And then I would sit with her and just meditate with her and practice being in my heart space and listening to the wisdom that she would give me. And it was kind of a cycle of that. Read till I'm tired, play till my fingers bleed, meditate till my brain's fried, rinse, repeat. Once in a while, I get up and walk around just to stretch my legs, do some yoga, bring some tennis balls with me and roll around on some tennis balls on a yoga mat. Because my body gets sore, just sitting in a chair or laying in a hammock the whole time. But try not to count the hours. It's dry fasting. So I start with a ceremony, ayahuasca ceremony on the first day. And then I have I drink and I have a meal. And then the second, and third, and fourth days, I'm no food, no water, unless the plant tells me, like tobacco has told me I could have a little sip of tobacco tea. Rose gave me a little sip of tobacco tea in the morning to start my day and to bring that into my heart. So it depends on the plant if I'm allowed to have a little sip of anything, but it's definitely not a lot. It's just to imbibe the plant, not to quench my thirst. And then after the third day, I break the fast, and then I do a final ceremony on the fifth day. And that's my dieta. That's how the plants have told me to do it. And my maestra has also confirmed that's how they've told her to do it as well.
It takes me back to ancient Persian culture, from what I've been learning in the past couple of years about my own culture. I'm from Iran, and it's very interesting. There's in the psychedelic history and the map of the world, when you look, there's 3 regions in the world that have the most amount of psychedelic plants in the ancient world. One is Iran, one is Peru, one is Mexico. And, per capita, like the
Hmm.
concentration. And so, I was convinced as I was going through my journey with plant medicine and psychedelics and my own journey of coming through my shadows and traumas and all of that, that my culture is very psychedelic. Like the Persian art that you see, the Persian poetry, like Rumi, Hafiz, those are the 2 major ones that we keep going back to. The depth of and the wisdom that they're bringing into their poetry is not ED at all, And so I've
Hmm.
been in this, learning path of what my own culture has in it. And I was told that in maybe 1,000, 2,000 years ago, what you described to me is what they would do with plants, and that each flower and each plant had its own angel speak through the plant to the person who would sit with it and would be meditating with it. And in fact, a lot of the rulers of the Persian Empire, that's what they would do. And they had these incredible gardens that still a lot of them exist in Iran from thousands of years ago. And they were just so rich with plants. And a lot of these emperors or shahs, they would have their own garden where they did the work. They didn't have gardeners taking care of it.
Yes.
And they would sit and they would learn and they would bring the wisdom of the plant into writing. So it's fascinating, when you're talking to me about your practice. It's so ancient. It's so ancient and it's so much a part of us, and we had forgotten for some time, and we're getting back into, we're remembering again to tap into our, to that essence of us that's nature, and it's coming through. Um it's
Yep.
beautiful. And the more we connect with ourselves, and that's what I love about what's happening with the psychedelic world right now. And PsyCon was a microcosm of that, is meeting people like yourself who are in this realm for these reasons of healing the individual, so you can heal community, so you can heal nature, so you can connect with the plants and the in a way that we aren't. And our dis-ease comes from that disconnection. Yeah. And so bringing it all back. Yeah. It takes all of us. Mhm. Yes, exactly. I'm excited to come and visit you on your 20 acres, Shannon.
Mm.
Places, okay? Let's go. Beautiful, beautiful.
Mm.
Well, we're gonna take you up on that. It'll take a little bit of planning, but we'll make it happen in the right time. That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful story and your wisdom. And please tell us how people can find you if they're drawn to having you hold space for them in your beautiful, beautiful land, beautiful piece of earth that you're curating. And we'll make sure it's in the show notes. Thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you.